Hello everyone, and welcome to this final newsletter of Term 1. And it has been a terrific term. St Joseph's started in 1935, and at some point in its early years, a school song was written. Over time, this song fell out of favour, and in the early 2000s, then college principal Paul Tobias wrote our current school song, Ad Alta Virtute. If you visit reception at the Edmund Rice campus, you'll see the words frosted across one of our large windows. Ad Alta Virtute is our Latin motto and has long been understood to translate directly as to strive for the highest, with the additional nuance of in a manly way. And further to that, the understanding that manly does not mean macho, but rather it means noble and virtuous. And while we've often been able to regularly explain this to students successfully, many people hearing the song, particularly for the first time, are struck by what they see as the incongruity of the translated term manly. Some time ago, I wrote to James Chongozard, who's Associate Professor of Classics at Melbourne University, to confirm the accuracy of our translation. His reply included the following, and I'm very grateful to him because it was lengthy, but this is the core of it. James says, Ad alta literally means towards the heights, and virtute means through courage or by means of courage. Virtus does have the root ver in it, which is Latin for man, and there are some dictionaries that translate this as manliness. But James says, I would argue that its basic meaning is courage, originally courage in warfare. But even in antiquity itself, it came to mean an ethical kind of courage, a kind of doing the right thing, from which the English language gets its word virtue. So in the end, my translation is towards the heights through courage. With the approval of Paul as writer of the song, we've chosen to make a minor change with the line, we strive for the highest in a manly way, to be changed to, we strive for the highest with courage every day. This new version of the college song will be launched and performed for the first time on Edmund Rice Day in week 3 of Term 2. Last month marked 10 years since the appointment of Jorge Mario Bergoglio as Pope Francis. And while in the Western world there are no shortage of people, Catholics and otherwise, prepared to ignore or denigrate the Catholic Church, there seems to have been overwhelming positivity about Pope Francis and his 10-year ministry. Some of those who are critical argue simply that he's not done enough in reforming the Church, or has not been quick enough in his reforms. But even these detractors generally agree that there have been many steps in the right direction. A recent article by Christopher Lamb in The Tablet reminded me of just what Pope Francis has achieved in a decade in the papacy. It's believed that the first words uttered to Francis by a colleague after his appointment were, "Don't forget the poor." And Francis' commitment to leading a church focused on those most in need, I think, has been faithful to this. Of course, the poor are those most at risk from the effects of climate change, and our obligation to care for the earth has been another related theme of this papacy. Francis' leadership has also been pastoral, shifting teaching to a more gospel-based and less doctrinal version in which every person is seen as a child of God. One example has been to refuse to condemn gay people, simply saying, "Who am I to judge?" While reading this article, I was reflecting on whether St Joseph's has been faithful to 10 years of Pope Francis' leadership. And I concluded that while we can always do more, we have been faithful. I think we've sought to be inclusive and welcoming of diversity in all its forms. I think we have a strong focus on sustainability and environmental initiatives, and I think we've been faithful to our obligation to support those in need. And this has been particularly true of our support in providing food and education to families in Kinseka in Uganda. The third week of next term, we celebrate Edmund Rice Day, which will once again provide this generous community with the opportunity to remember, don't forget the poor. In the last few weeks of term, the college has conducted 9 weekday tours for prospective families, and these have been exceptionally well attended, with over 500 families shown around by a small group of our current students. It's been particularly pleasing to see many families from outside the Catholic primary system considering St Joseph's for their son's secondary education. And I'd like to thank and acknowledge the work of College Registrar Adele Mawson for her work in helping make these tours so successful. We have one more tour early next term, with enrolment applications closing on the 5th of May. I will be overseas for most of May, returning to work on June 13. My travel includes a visit to Kinseka to see firsthand the work that we've been able to assist there and the difference our community is making. I also hope to discuss with Father Emma the resumption of student immersions to Uganda next year. I'll also be attending the international gathering of leaders of Edmund Rice schools in Ireland, and on the way home I'll be catching up with a group of old collegians in New York. From the start of week 2 next term, Lisa Pope will be acting principal and John Mitchell will be acting deputy principal learning. This weekend coming, we celebrate Easter and the triumph of light over darkness, good over evil and life over death. As believers in the risen Christ, we are people of profound faith, hope and love. And I wish you and your family every blessing for the Easter season. God bless.